Tony, what are you doing here? What happened? Wondered Mrs. Lee when she saw her nephew on the doorstep.
Can I stay with you? I'm sorry, but I have nowhere else to go,
said Tony, and nodded at the weighty suitcase. Of course, come on in, sweetheart, said the woman, delighted to see her nephew. For several years now, the elderly history teacher had lived alone. She never got married. All her life she lived with her mother, but after she passed away, Mrs. Lee felt almost an orphan. She only survived thanks to her work and pupils. Her only family member was Tony. They rarely communicated. Only on holidays they congratulated each other and called each other occasionally.
Thank you, dear aunt. I don't know what I would have done without you.
Tony sipped his tea and took a bite of blueberry pie.
Your pie is excellent. It reminds me of my childhood.
Eat it in good health, the woman enthused. Maybe you can explain what happened? Tony briefly told her that he had gone bankrupt with the business.
The creditors took the apartment for debts, so I decided to come to you to start all over again.
You did the right thing. I'm your only aunt after all, approved Mrs. Lee. Tony immediately hit the ground running. All day long he disappeared somewhere, came home late at night, often with some kind of bags. To all Aunt's questions, he joked that he had started a business again. What kind of business? Can you tell me? Tried to ask Mrs. Lee. But Tony was getting away with the answer. Why do you need all these details? I'm helping you financially. We seem to be living pretty well. One day, Tony disappeared for a week. Mrs. Lee could not relax for anxiety. She was already going to go to the police, but fortunately, the nephew showed up, depressed and upset.
I'm in trouble, Auntie. My business is ruined. Big debts again. The creditors are demanding repayment. 2 days have been given. Otherwise...
Tony silenced meaningfully and let a stingy tear. Hearing the amount of the debt, the woman almost jumped for joy. That was the sum she had set aside for her retirement. The woman preferred to keep the money at home because she did not trust banks. She rushed to the pantry in the bedroom, and a minute later she brought out a weighty bag. Here you go, honey. Pay your debt and come back. The nephew tearfully promised to return everything in full, and, taking the package, left at once. Mrs. Lee never saw him again. She waited for him day and night, running from window to window, shuddering at every rustle. And then the police came, and to Mrs. Lee's horror, it turned out that her nephew was a member of a house thief gang. The bags that Tony carried home from time to time were filled with stolen goods. The apartment was searched. Everything was turned upside down. Mrs. Lee was as if in prostration and refused to understand anything. At first, the police even wanted to implicate her in the crime, but then they realized that the elderly teacher had nothing to do with the gang. Tony and his friends were sentenced to different terms. After all this, Mrs. Lee was fired from the school where she had worked for more than 20 years. Rumours spread through the town that the former history teacher had set up a den of thieves in her home. Everyone had turned their back on her, her students, her colleagues, her friends, her neighbours. But the trouble never comes alone. A month later, a huge big man showed up and, waving some documents, told Mrs. Lee to vacate the apartment, which he bought 2 months ago. Gathering her most necessary things, a photo album and a few favourite books, Mrs. Lee took the train and left her hometown. On the platform, the woman set down her suitcase and cried, sitting down on a bench. The once respected and beloved teacher was no longer needed. Until recently, She had everything to be happy: a warm, cozy home, a job which she warmly adored. Now she found herself on a train platform with a few dollars in her pocket in an old-fashioned purse. Where would she go? The woman did not know, but she knew one thing. She had to fight and find a way out of the situation. For half a day, Mrs. Lee wandered through the streets of a strange city. By evening she was exhausted. She wanted to drink hot tea. When she saw a small canteen near the station square, she decided to have something to eat. The smell of food made her dizzy. After counting the money, Mrs. Lee met her gaze with the pretty girl who handed out the food. "Half a portion of potatoes and 3 slices of bread," the elderly woman said quietly, and lowered her head. The waitress gave the visitor an attentive look. Then she put a large portion of potatoes, a cutlet, and a salad on the plate. Mrs. Lee tried to eat slowly, but she was so hungry and cold that she could not help herself, and ate very hurriedly. No sooner had she finished than a plate of apple strudel and tea was placed before her. "Bon appetit," smiled the girl, pushing her plate up. "But I didn't order this," said the woman in a shaky voice. "It's on the house." The girl smiled so warmly that it made Mrs. Lee feel better, and she started crying out of pity for herself. "Thank you, honey, but I'm very embarrassed." "Don't cry, please. Is there anything I can do to help?" asked the girl, and seeing the empty hall, sat down next to the poor visitor. At that moment, Mrs. Lee herself, not knowing why, told her of her misfortunes. "Yes, I didn't think there was such a thing in life," the girl sighed. "You need to find a job. Are you able to clean?" Mrs. Lee nodded, and the girl smiled contentedly. "Great! We'll go to a place after my work. Maybe I can help you. By the way, my name is Rachel." "Thank you. Tell me, why are you helping me? After all, I'm a stranger to you." "You look a lot like my mum. She's been dead for years. When I saw you, even my heart squeezed with pain and longing," explained Rachel, wiping away a tear. After speaking with Rachel, Mrs. Lee went to the train station and got her things from the storage room. She washed her face in the ladies' room, changed into a clean suit, and finished with a few drops of perfume. Rachel did not immediately recognize in the beautiful elderly woman the unfortunate, pitiful person who had eaten greedily a couple of hours before. "You look so well," winked the girl. "I hope everything works out for us. Now, we're going to my former employer's house. I'd been cleaning for her since I got to the city." Mrs. Lee assured Rachel that she would definitely do well, and soon she was hired, though Rachel had to lie to her former landlady, introducing Mrs. Lee as her aunt. "Thank you, my darling," glowed with happiness Mrs. Lee. "I don't even know how I can thank you. God must have sent me you as my guardian angel." With Rachel's help, Mrs. Lee rented a tiny apartment and was pleased about it, considering it her victory. The woman worked to her heart's content, and thanks to the landlady's recommendations, began cleaning 2 more houses. In her spare time, she visited Rachel in the canteen. They chatted about various trifles. Mrs. Lee thanked her tirelessly for her help and felt happy. She had long ago realized that a person needed very little to be happy. Sometimes a roof over one's head and a bright, kind person who would always support in joy and sorrow were enough. But soon another blow of fate awaited Mrs. Lee. Early in the morning, the woman came to clean the apartment as usual, but there was an unpleasant surprise waiting for her at the door in the form of 2 policemen. "Mrs., you are arrested on suspicion of burglary of an apartment. Only you had the keys and free access to this apartment," said the frowning captain. Mrs. Lee almost lost her senses in shock. When she came to her senses, She tried for a long time to explain that she had never taken anyone else's things in her life. The interrogation lasted more than an hour. The investigator, who recognized the woman's past, was sure that Mrs. Lee was the one involved in the robbery. Your nephew is convicted of a similar crime, and as far as I know, they wanted to charge you back then for complicity, but they couldn't prove guilt. Mrs. Lee was shocked to find herself involved in some sort of theft again. "Mrs. Lee, what are you doing here?" She heard a surprised voice above her. Squinting, the elderly woman tried to recognize the man. "Oh, Paul Davis, how you've grown," smiled the woman, recognizing her former pupil in the uniformed man. After reading the interrogation report, Paul was confused. What does it all mean? This woman is a teacher, a respected, noble, and purist person. "I'll take this case if you don't mind," Paul said, taking the papers. "Mrs. Lee, let's go to my office." Paul brewed some hot tea and placed a vase of cookies in front of the teacher. "Tell me the story," he said in a calm tone. "Tell me everything from the beginning. What happened in our town? Why did you leave? And what are you doing here?" Mrs. Lee took a sip of the strong tea and, taking her time, immersed in memories, told Paul everything. The man frowned from time to time but listened carefully without interrupting. "Did I understand correctly? You didn't put your signature on the sale of the apartment?" "No, of course not. I tried to get justice, but the lawyer asked fabulous money for help. I had to put up with it and back down. What could I do alone?" said Mrs. Lee sadly. "All right. I'll get in touch with my colleagues and try to figure this situation out. We'll see what we can do later. You're free to go. How can I find you, Mrs. Lee?" "You have the address where I live. Also, I usually see one girl every evening. She is the only close person I have left. My guardian angel." 2 months later, Mrs. Lee and Rachel were taking their usual walk in the park. The women watched the yellow leaves fall from the trees. How summer goes, and autumn takes its place. A handsome young man in uniform was walking towards them. As he approached the women, he smiled. "Good evening, beautiful ladies," laughed Paul. "I have good news. Mrs. Lee, you need to go home. Your presence is needed there." "Did it work?" The teacher froze in excitement. "Yes. As it turns out, Tony lost your apartment at cards and forged your signature on the documents. It was easy and quick to get the buyer out in the open." With happiness and joy, Mrs. Lee could not even find the words. "What about me? Who will I walk with in the evenings?" sorrowed Rachel. "I have become so attached to you, Mrs. Lee." "Rachel, I won't stay in that town. There are too many bad memories associated with it. I'm going to sell my apartment and buy one here," the woman smiled. "And while Mrs. Lee will take care of business, I can walk with you in the evenings," smiled Paul. Rachel blushed, and Mrs. Lee realized that she liked Paul. A mutual sympathy erupted between the young people. "That's a great idea, Paul. While I'm there, I'll leave Rachel to you. Promise me you'll look after her," winked the elderly woman to the man. "With pleasure," promised Paul. Everybody laughed, and the three of them walked along the alley. Everyone was happy in their own way. Paul was glad that he could help his beloved teacher. Rachel was happy to have met the decent man she had dreamed of. Mrs. Lee was happy that these two people, Rachel and Paul, were able to bring her back to life and give her faith that after the rain always comes the sun, and that behind the darkest clouds there is always a rainbow.